The Able to Care podcast is sponsored by Able Training Support Limited, who build partnerships with organisations to develop confidence and competence in their team to promote positive outcomes for all. Find the link in the description. Hello and welcome to the Able to Care podcast. I am your host, Andy Baker. And on this episode, I thought I would talk about one of the causes of behaviour that challenges that I sometimes refer to. And it's a wonderful analogy that some of you may have heard, but it's a really useful way of kind of understanding other people and exploring challenges. So we refer to this within our model, the Able Target System, as a reactive cause. So the best analogy that I've ever come across for this is I want you to imagine that every person you interact with, work with, or share space with is a bit like a bottle of Coke. You don't know how many times that bottle of Coke's been shaken up. You might just be the unfortunate one who walks in a room and takes the lid off. So sometimes you get covered in Coke. Okay. Now, is it personal? Probably not. But can it feel personal? Absolutely. When you're being called names or being teased, picked on, shouted at, whatever it is, of course it can feel very personal. And hey, we're bottles of Coke too, so that can cause us to get agitated, defensive, and we lash out, we push back. The problem is when we do that, when we escalate up or we mirror their emotions, all we've done is potentially put some Mentos into that bottle of Coke, causing a full-on explosion. Or maybe you do have enough power or authority, or you are big enough, strong enough, authoritarian enough to actually put the lid back on, but the shaking up is still there. It's going to come out in a more passive way. It's going to still emotionally affect them. That pressure still has to be released somewhere, whether it be positively or negatively. If you knew a bottle of Coke had been shaken up, what would you do with it? Well, most of us would leave it to settle. Most of us would give it some space to calm down. But so many of us are so guilty of even when we know a bottle of Coke's shaken up, we shake it a bit more, we shake it a bit more, we shake it a bit more. And especially if it's not very good at keeping its lid on for other factors, well, whose fault is it when we get covered in the stuff? If you knew a bottle of Coke's shaken up, if we left it to settle, hopefully that would then calm, give it some space, give it some time. If you knew certain tricks, like I never know whether this one's true or not, but when you tap the lid of the bottle and slowly opening it or turn it upside down and tap it, you can open it out, get covered in the stuff. Now, I don't know whether that genuinely works or not, probably not. But if you knew certain strategies, like I know this is something that causes this individual agitation, distress, or stress, but I know this activity de-escalates them, calms them down, seems to regulate them. Now, whether that be, let's say, for example, it's a sensory processing issue. So, a lot of noise shakes them up, but we know that going to a calm, quiet space allows them to de-stress. Well, surely that would be a good idea to do. So whether we initiate this calming activity before we're about to shake up the bottle of Coke, during, so we take a break, or afterwards to hopefully de-stress, hopefully we don't get covered in the stuff. I have had a few people sort of refer to, if I did have a shake-up bottle of Coke, I'd give it to somebody else to open. And that always sounds like a terrible thing to do, unless you know the person you're handing it over to is absolutely brilliant at opening that particular bottle of Coke up without getting covered in the stuff. Or if you know my own personal bottle of Coke is getting shaken, so I need to hand this off, because 2 shaken up bottles of Coke tends to end up in nothing but a mess. So having that self-awareness of going, I'm getting worked up by this, I'm finding this difficult, maybe I need to switch out, change face, bring somebody else in, might be the best action, the most appropriate thing to do in any given circumstance. I have had a few people go, if we had to open that bottle of Coke, how would we do it? If we knew it was shaken, slowly, gently, arm's length, outside. And that's where I kind of feel like the analogy still kind of works, is that if we know we're about to do it and it's shaken, well, how can we do it slowly and gently? How can we make sure we maintain our own personal safety, depending on how much to go or how far the Coke tends to go? based on knowledge and experience. So there's so much we can kind of utilize using that bottle of Coke analogy. The other important bit is, would you know a bottle of Coke has been shaken up? Would you see it on the side and know what's shaking it up? Of course not. So whenever we're dealing with people, we have to have that kind of emotional intelligence to recognize that we may not know a bottle of Coke's shaken. So maybe we should always be gentle and kind when we're opening them up. From the bottle of Coke analogy, we can then understand, okay, well, what shakes up or what could shake up the bottle of Coke? So we have a premise or a kind of model that we work off within able training and the able target system, where we look at kind of 4 elements typically of what could shake up the bottle of Coke. The first one on the list is human stressors. So human stressors is other people winding them up, okay? Interpersonal stressors. That could be that person's making me feel teased, belittled, ignored, bullied, patronized, criticized, teased, shouted at, restricting my choices, controlling me, whatever it is. Okay. Now, very much with human stressors, it's not necessarily how the perpetrator feels, it's how the recipient feels. Like with bullying, for instance, in a case of, well, I was only joking. Well, that's not how I felt about it. Now, whether that's right or wrong, whether it was bullying, if the person is being oversensitive or not, it's kind of irrelevant. It's still something that shakes up the bottle of Coke. It may not be enough to cause the lid to blow, but the more interpersonal stresses are occurring, the more that bottle of Coke is going to get shaken. So human stresses is one. Next is emotional cognitive. So emotional cognitive is either the way I'm feeling or the way I'm thinking. And this kind of does encompass everything to some degree. But with emotional cognitive, emotional could be I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling isolated, I'm feeling anxious. All of these feelings could mean, again, they're things that shake up the bottle of Coke. So straight away, if I'm feeling depressed, if my mood is low, it may not take as much for what you say to cause the lid to come off. The other side is then the cognitive stresses. And cognitive stresses include the way we think. So it could be my cognition is not typical. So I'm struggling with something. I'm struggling to understand something. Or it could be delusions, hallucinations, paranoia. It could be memories from my past that are coming into my head and causing me distress. It could be my core beliefs about myself, or it could be scripts about how I feel people or other people should behave or shouldn't behave. Now, with emotions, it could be a case of I need some empathy. I need somebody to help understand me. I need somebody to share in this emotion with me. Whereas cognitive stress, it might be a case of I need somebody to challenge me, to get me to look at things in a different point of view, to think differently. The next one after emotional cognitive is location. Location is there something about the environment that's causing this person's stress or distress? Is it the lighting? Is it smells in the environment? Is it poor ventilation and lack of airflow? Is it temperature? Okay. All of these can affect. I remember a number of years ago now, my son came home from working in retail and he said that the customers had been absolutely horrible and had been so impatient. But it was during that really hot point of one year where the weather was ridiculously warm and incredibly dry. So that was one of the contributing factors. It didn't mean that's why everybody was complaining, but it shook up the bottle of Coke for everybody based on just temperature alone. One of the first things I always get on training courses when people walk in is a bit warm in here, a bit cold in here, because most of us human beings are very aware about how temperature can affect our ability to feel comfortable or sit for long durations. We're not always aware about how it can affect our mood and our behavior on a day-to-day basis. So for instance, this is a sad fact, I suppose, that even holding a cup of coffee in your hand can potentially affect your political beliefs. So people, when holding something warm, are more likely to be slightly more social in their way of looking at politics, so slightly more left-leaning, than when they are cold, when they're more right-leaning. It's the I'm looking after myself or I'm looking after others. Well, if I'm warm and okay, I'm more likely to be able to think about other people. So little bits like that really affect our mood. And these can be very, very subtle. They're not enough to ever cause an explosion of emotion, but they're something that contribute. They're something that shake that bottle of Coke up. The last one is P, which is physical. Physical stressors. Most of us would admit if we're hungry, if we're tired, if we're not feeling very well, we don't tend to be as patient with other people around us. So certain medication can affect that, hormone imbalance can affect that. So these are all the physical factors. So we've got human, emotional, cognitive, location, and physical, and that spells out help. If we are looking for connection, human connection, for supporting others, we should always be looking, is there anything I can do to help? It could be a case of its location. Well, can we do something to change location? Can we turn the noise down? Or does this person be better off by leaving this particular location? If it's physical, are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Are they tired? Is there something we can do to help physically? If it's emotional cognitive, is there something we can do to help them feel empathized with and connected with, or talk them through the process, get them to question their automatic negative thoughts? Or is it human? I'm winding them up, so I need to just take a step away for a minute. Or that person's winding them up, needs to step away for a minute. Or do they need some human contact, need some human connection? Just to summarize them, the reactive nature is the bottle of Coke analogy. We're all bottles of Coke. We don't know what's shaking up before we come across. So when somebody kicks off for no reason, and hopefully if you've watched any of my podcasts, you'll know how I feel about that terminology, kicked off. But it kicks off for no reason. There's always a reason. There's always things that are potentially building up in the background. And it might just have been the straw that broke the camel's back on that particular occasion that caused this particular incident. Sometimes people refer to these as slow stressors. Sometimes people refer to them as setting events. There's a few different terms out there in different care settings or different behavioral management tools that kind of refer to these things that shake at the bottle of Coke, these stressors. Hopefully you find that useful. If you did find it useful, please like, comment, and share. And I'll see you on the next episode.